You're listening to the Loose Screws podcast. I'm Commander Burr. I asked them what their 5 favourite things were in the whole universe. It gave them something to think about while I made my escape.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. This is Loose Screws, the loosest podcast about Elite Dangerous worldwide, just all over the whole of this Earth-like world. I'm Commander J. Well, or the screwiest. It's one of those two. Or perhaps
screwiest.
It's the like screwiest podcast in the whole soul system about Elite Dangerous anyway. It might not be the screwiest podcast ever, but at least about Elite Dangerous. I'm Commander J on Trax, and we're recording on November the 12th, which happens to be my wife's birthday. So happy birthday, Mrs. Trax.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Mrs. Trax.
Hooray. And I'm doing a podcast instead of hanging out with her. So figure that out.
Not my problem.
I am joined tonight by, once again, Commander Chig. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
How has your week been?
In game, out of game? Which do you want?
Let's do a little of both.
Oh, well, out of game, obviously, still doing the working thing, the homeschooling the kid thing, the avoiding coronavirus thing, trying to avoid watch any election stuff as much as possible. You know, the world's just a damn shit show. In game, I don't know, been on a few times this week. Actually got back into CQC after not playing for quite a while and finally getting, the feel for my Verpal stick. Freaking love it. Absolutely falling in love with it to the point where I did a CZ last night in a small ship for the first time, and that was a blast.
Oh, wow.
Cool story last night we were on, and Dubs was pulling his usual shenanigans, and he wanted to try out the advanced missile racks and shard cannons on an Anaconda to try to kill... Actually, let me back the story up. It was actually on a dare from Lark Shadow. Right? Yeah, Lark Shadow in Discord dared somebody to kill a Thargoid interceptor with something other than Gauss cannons. And I'm like, well, that's relatively easy. And Dubs took him up on the bet. So Lark Shadow is kind of a sucker's bet. But Dubs, and their stakes was if Dubs did it, he would have to fly an Eagle for the week, no other ship but an Eagle, and same thing for Lark Shadow. So that was the little bet they did. And Lark Shadow actually was purchasing an Eagle before Dubs even got out there because he knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, I saw he posted a pic of a new Imperial Eagle.
Dubs then did it, though, in his exploration Anaconda. Just put AX weapons on it and threw a scanner on it and went out there, and with the advanced missiles and the shard cannon, he died first attempt.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he went in, deployed his hard points, and lost all his power because his power priorities. his exploration Anaconda didn't have the power to do that. So he died. It was a decent fight though. Second round, he killed a Cyclops faster than I've seen somebody kill a Cyclops solo I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing
the shard cannon brute force.
The shard cannon and the advanced missile racks. Mm-hmm. He just out DPS the heart's regeneration, and it was dead super fast. I mean, there was no shutdown, nothing. I mean, it went fast. So then he wanted to try to do it again, and the third time he did it, it wasn't going as well for him. He was surviving, but then the shutdown field got him. And like right when the shutdown field started, he goes, "Oh, I have something for that," and then got shut down. So he wasn't even thinking about doing it. Came back online, and he was at like 8% hull, and starts fighting, and all of a sudden it's like, oh God, it's going to be close. It's going to be close. He got the fucker with, he had 1% hull left. 1% he did it. So that was super entertaining. There was a bunch of us watching, so it was good for a laugh last night.
Outstanding. So who else is here? We've got Lieutenant Commander Data. How have you been this past week?
Hello, everyone. I've been doing well, and Mrs. Trax, we tried to convince him to not do a podcast tonight so he could be with you for your birthday, but he wouldn't listen. He demanded we do this. So
we tried hard.
She doesn't.
We offered
listen
to pay
the
him.
show.
We know.
Even better.
She knows better.
Yeah. My wife doesn't listen to the show.
But no, I've been doing good. Gotten a little bit of time in game this week. Been doing a little bit of work around the house as well. So yeah, glad to be here.
Some
tonight.
Renovations.
Yes. I've endured similar bathroom renovations, so I know what you're talking about, Jig. You've mentioned that before.
Yeah,
but
let's not bring that up.
Currently, I'm staring at a stripped bare laundry room, stripped down to the concrete and the block walls.
Oh wow!
With no washing machine or dryer in there, so I've got some work left to do. Get the floors painted, get everything put back together. So it's coming along.
Fun. So that's where you were last night, because you weren't on. That doesn't happen often.
That's right.
Yeah, we've been actually it's like a week or two ago now. We did a little bit of kitchen reno. I did new countertops, new quartz countertops, and the backsplash is going to be going in sometime soon. But it's not that big a deal. It's not really interfering with much. It's not like taking out all the cabinets or all the plumbing or anything.
Yeah.
And finally, also here tonight is Nurgle. Welcome back. How are you doing? How have you been?
It's been a fun week. And Mrs. Trax, who is a teacher like Mrs. Nurgle, she's probably working tonight anyway. So
no, she actually managed to get off, but get off from work and actually go out with some friends and stuff. So we're gonna have a proper birthday tomorrow night.
There you go.
When it's not a school night.
Yeah, it's been a fun week. So work is as fun as it can be when a $300,000 piece of equipment stops working. So that's okay. Nothing that couldn't be solved by a long drive off a short pier. But
did you try turning it off and turning it back on?
Well, that's the problem. It won't turn on. So
Did you try hitting it?
Repeatedly.
Some percussive maintenance there.
Percussive maintenance, yes.
Yeah, that's the end of my advice.
So, and thanks to a holiday this week, I actually got a chance to play Elite for a change rather than just dabble with the BGS stuff while I'm trying to work. So that was an interesting experience.
Nice. Cool. Okay, awesome. Well, I got to play a little. I actually didn't play Elite very much this week. I did hop on a little bit to mess around with the HUD mod stuff that's been popping up lately. This new way to recolor your HUD, and it is really neat. And I get what they're doing and like how they're managing to pull it off and everything. I think it's not working for me. Like
tell the listeners what it is.
Oh, okay. So there's at this point, it's been kind of making the rounds on the forum and stuff, and Down to Earth Astronomy did a little show and tell video, not going into a ton of depth, but this is a fairly recent mod. I think he just started working on this like 3 months ago, but they're recoloring the HUD without changing like the whole color tint of everything. So they're actually doing it by modifying the shaders and modifying the images that the different aspects of the HUD are being sourced from, and sort of replacing them with different colored versions of those. And they can do things like change the dimness on the fly and change the cabin lighting. So just the ambient light inside the spaceship. And it's really cool. It's a lot of work. They have to sort of dig and find with a lot of like hash code and find like the different things that are going on in here. And so currently they have a version that has a few options for things. Basically, that recolors most of the orange, but it, effectively it leaves things like your radar colors are still correct. and faces and stuff on menus. Like it doesn't do the thing where it turns them all purple or something. It leaves all that alone because it's not the global stuff, right? So the menus all kind of look the same. There are some problems some people are having with frame rate drops and stuttering, which I am getting only in when I do it in VR. So it's not really going to work for me in this current state, but it is really, really pretty cool. And I'm not thrilled with the colors that they picked for most of the things. Like there are a few things that are optional, like what color the shields are and your distributor bars, your pips and stuff like that.
It's not like fully customizable. You cycle through the preset.
Right. There's presets for various aspects of it, but like your reticle, there's 3 presets for, but like the surrounds, like the stuff that has like your hard points listed on it are like preset. They all come out like to be a purple. And I was like, I wouldn't really want a purple. I actually sort of prefer the orange to that, but what I really want is to be able to customize it in such a way. And you can do it with this where you can actually trigger it to cycle back and forth at the same time as when you change cockpit modes. So like you have, by default, they're all in the function keys on the keyboard, but you can change that, or you can like remap your controller to basically fire a function key. And it's fairly simple to adjust in the text file. And I got it working, so when I was changing cockpit modes, like when I'm in combat mode, the cockpit is illuminated red. And then when I'm out of it, it's like blue or maybe just the default colors or something for that particular ship. Default ambient light. That sort of stuff's really cool. But, just as a way of changing the colors, like that's just personally what I wanted it to be. But I have my eye on it for the future. As far as if they're able to work out like what's causing the weird stuttering, because it's not fun in VR. Like it makes everything kind of shake. But I don't notice any difference on a flat screen. So whatever the problem is, it could be related to that, because of course it's different. Sometimes it works perfectly, and then sometimes you have to go hunting for a shader, like on different people's computers, and then you have to go through this whole process. And but for me, it was flawless. Just installed with a click, uninstalled with a click. On flat screen, it's fine. I would have had to go hunting in the VR version to find the shader that broke, but I'm not going to bother because I'm not really going to use it. But it is really neat. But that's about all I ended up doing in Elite until today. I did turn on Star Wars Squadrons again because they did an update that fixed now officially like all of the major bugs with the game are fixed. They're at a 2.0 version like a month after launch, which is kind of amazing. Just wanted to see like if it could sort of grab my attention back again. And I still find that the matchmaking is pretty crummy, and you go into a match and start getting beaten, and then like 2 or 3 people from my team just quit out of the match. And I'm trying to stay in because it's ranked, and I will like lose points if I quit for forfeiting. But people still leave, and then I end up fighting like a 2 versus 5, and it was a mess. And then other games, it's fine. Everyone stays in, and we, so I don't know. It is still kind of a very sort of, I don't know if superficial is the right word. There's just not that much game there. It is kind of like a CQC, it's a little bit more complicated than CQC, but that's kind of what it is.
I paid money for it, and I haven't hopped back into it since the first couple days. I haven't touched it once.
But it's enough of I guess, a good comparison would be like a Counter-Strike level game. It is a simple like multiplayer battle shooter that has some complexity and has a skill ceiling. And that's kind of one of the problems, right? Because unless I'm going to dedicate a lot of time to it, I'm always going to be like on the receiving end of that skill ceiling if their matchmaking doesn't work right. So, so that's kind of how I feel about it, I guess. So anyway, that's been my thing until we came in here today. So, so what's been happening? We said last time that, I remember like right before we recorded last time, Commander Mal for the Win from the Flight Assist podcast had a medical emergency, but he is okay. We found out kind of the next day. He was discharged and sent home, had an allergic reaction that was very bad, but he is okay and back up and running. And he was able to pull off his charity stream that happened almost the next day after that, I think.
Wow.
As far as I know, everything went fine. So great job.
All right.
Yeah. And I guess that's kind of, that was the thing at the top of the show. The next thing I was going to hit was squadron briefing. If everybody's cool, let's talk about wars and negotiations, huh? Let's fire this off.
War is just negotiations by other means.
Incoming priority message.
Squadron briefing.
Okay. Yeah, so, last time we had talked, after a prolonged series of failures, we had finally ended up in Kama. And, as of,
Yes.
and then it became the climb to the top. And as of today, we are pending an election in Kama, and by the time this goes out tomorrow at the tick, we should be active, and that will be for control of the system.
An election for control. This is new and different.
I know it's kind of after everything we've been through, it's a little bit of a letdown for it to be an election and not a war. But oh well, it kind of fits with this time in America.
A lot of times, though, can't you find those kinds of missions that are election missions, but they're not just like running data, right? They're like it's like the Black Ops election missions where it's like assassinate civilians or whatever just to try to throw off the election kind of stuff. There may be some combat.
It's questionable whether or not those actually work, though, because the general rule of thumb is no combat actions have an effect in elections. But
interesting.
We'll have to see. We'll have to actually pay close attention to that because I've never really dove in to make sure that common wisdom is actually wise.
No, but we'll pay attention. That means you'll pay attention to it. Is that
I did say I. I did say
okay,
I.
Okay. I thought you said we'll. Okay.
You're in charge.
You'll be distracted. You'll be distracted with the bathroom renovation as it is.
That's enough.
So we expanded into another system this week. It was a misfire, not where we wanted to go. I'm still trying to figure out how we ended up where we did because the math doesn't add up to me, but we are where we are. So, hey, in Mayakoro, so we're fighting a invasion war there. Winner stays, loser goes.
Mm-hmm.
Mayakoro is an interesting situation. There is another player faction involved. We have some history. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And that's probably all I want to talk about on the podcast with that.
Very well.
Yeah. So, and then, I want to shout out to Nebu and the guys over at Brotherhood of Terra Mater. They're our neighbors and a good bunch of folks, and they reached out to us. A lot of our zones overlap, and they've had some issues with the same faction we've had some issues with, but they asked us for some help fighting a war they were fighting. They were getting some kickback from they don't know who, somebody fighting them in closed, so you can't see who the opponent is. But as we speak, a bunch of the guys
closed,
from
is that what you're referring to? Solo
closed? Yeah, I mean,
I think I like that closed.
Closed versus open. It just
right.
the way it clicks in my head.
I like that.
So a whole bunch of our squadron is over there tonight trying to help them finish off that war. It's 3-2 and get that solidified. And then we were contacted by, I'm going to mispronounce his name and his squadron, but Aesica, Aesica, and his squadron is Sapir Od. It's a foreign language.
Yeah, can't help you there.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you're listening and I butchered that. I'm sorry.
Just call him
It
Steve.
is what it is. But they're actually completing a string of pearls migration across the bubble.
Oh wow!
Yeah, something like 20 systems they're crossing. And
Holy cow!
Yeah, and one of our systems is one of their jumps, and so they had kind of reached out and said, "Hey, do you mind if we land in that system?" No, come on down, it's fine. Play through, yeah.
Play through.
Stick around for a while. Enjoy. The neighborhood's fine. So I think they're currently about 50 light years out, I think. So it's probably going to be maybe a month or so before they can arrange that jump to get in there. But we're looking forward to them coming through. And, because we always enjoy having interesting people who are both, active players and good neighbors coming through. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
Excellent. Always exciting stuff in BGS land, and I am alt-tabbing to my note sheet and vamping for myself while I do that because I swung past it twice. I did a loop of shame in my alt-tab here. That was pretty great. Anyway, yeah, the BGS is always popping off. We've seen some new people coming into Discord who were a couple of particular people who were like, been playing the game forever, but now finally finding a community and like people to actually play with and thinking about joining Open for the first time. Yeah. And this is where it's at, everybody. So welcome, and it's going to be a ton of fun. Next on my list, I have Chig Chat. Are you ready? Always. It's been so long.
Yeah, I know. God.
Oh my gosh. Are you guys? I'm going to play this sound. I'm so excited.
It's Chig Chat. Yeah, that's a fact. It's Chig Chat. Where the cheese at?
We here at Loose Screws never end a sentence with a preposition.
There's always a little Thai worship in here when we get the Chig Chat.
It took me a long time to figure out that was not Thai saying that every time that it was played. Like live, saying it live.
How's he get the timing so perfect?
I know. All right, sorry, go ahead.
That would have been awesome. It would have been a little bit different every time. Oh, yeah. Man, that's good stuff. All right, Chig Chat this week. First, I'll just start by covering the Chig Chat from a couple weeks ago because I wasn't here last week, and I asked about sandwich ideas, everybody's favorite sandwiches, and I could start talking about what people put, but what is it? Diani Symbiot. God damn it! I knew I was going to screw up his name. Diani Symbiot. Symbiont.
He gave us a pronunciation in Discord some time ago.
I know, but that was so long ago. But he ended up winning like the internet. He posted this poster with like 40 different sandwiches on it. Everything from PB&J bologna sandwich all the way to Bon Mais and everything. It was so good. And then he followed that up later in the week with this giant cheese wheel with all the different cheeses you can find and stuff. So yeah, he wins. I this week decided that I'm just going to start trying to have one of every sandwich on that board before the end of the year. I had about 5 of the different ones just this week. So thank you very much. I will continue to eat sandwiches, like crazy.
Progress.
Now, yeah, I know, right? Now this week, to get it off food for a week, because next week we probably are going to get back on the food topic because the week after is Thanksgiving, so I'm probably going to ask about food next week. So this week I'm gonna come off of that a little bit. Tomorrow's Friday the 13th, and it's Friday the 13th in during 2020. We had another Friday the 13th this year. It was March 13th.
That explains a lot.
2 days after this was declared a global pandemic, we had our first Friday the 13th of the year, and now we're getting a second one. So, that's a little bit scary. And my daughter is on a kick lately. She's 13 and starting to get into horror movies. So she wants to be watching like all kinds of cool horror movies. Exactly. So we've been watching some of the classics, and some are sci-fi twisted, Aliens, the first Terminator, I consider those horror movies. They're scary. Yes. We watched, the two more recent It movies and stuff, but I'm looking for something to, for us to watch just to scare the bejesus out of her. All-time scariest movie for me is still the original Halloween. None of the stupid sequels and stuff. The very first original, where it's this freaking escaped mental patient and he's carrying a butcher knife. I mean, that was a terrifying movie. And the piano theme music, I had nightmares forever. And I think I saw that the first time when I was about her age. And that one actually scared me so bad that I think I slept with the lights on as a teenager for a while because I was so afraid of Michael Myers. So I don't know if I want to subject her to that, but that to me is one of the scariest ever. So I'm just looking for horror movie suggestions because I think we're going to watch one tomorrow night. So give me some ideas. That's all I got this week. You guys have any that you remember fondly that maybe I can completely, give my daughter years of therapy with?
I have to ponder. For a second.
It's been probably 15 years since I've watched it, but the movie I remember being the most scared by was the original Amityville Horror movie from 1979. That movie scared me so bad. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
so many good parts to that movie.
Like that for years.
Yeah, that one terrified me.
You know what always does it for me is this makes me cringe in real life. This is probably why it's
The Last Jedi.
Sorry,
that is a horror movie.
It's stuff with knives for some reason. Like, and I mean, this is like a I don't know, a character flaw of mine or something, but like I can't watch people use knives like to cut food and stuff. I can't look. I'm totally freaked out that they're going to cut themselves for some reason. And I have no problem using knives, and I have no problem with using other people using knives when I'm not looking. But
that's funny. I won't let my wife cut anything if I'm in the room.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. So like if the horror that's going on in the movie is to do with knives, or I know somebody's going to get cut, that's when I get the most like cringy. I don't feel like I ever really get sincerely scared by movies. Usually when it's, it's the kind of movies where spooky stuff doesn't really work on me, but like jump scares, the jump scare is coming. I get startled, right? But I end up just kind of like laughing out loud about it. Like I think it's tremendous fun in a kind of laughing way. And I'm not like I sort of feel like I'm missing out on some of it because I have friends who love horror movies and they get so sincerely scared by it. And I don't really get that. So probably not a great one for that list, but yeah, knives freak me out.
There's a difference between like jump scares and true horror and dread being inspired in you by the movie.
Yeah, like one of those guys you don't want to bring to a haunted house because all they'll do is laugh at you as you're being scared.
Yeah. I think I'm a little like that.
What about you, Nerg?
I don't have the horror movie gene, so the movie that I remember being really, really scary was Jaws 2. And of course, Jaws is one of the classics. But for me, what does it for me is, and this is all the years working in hospitals, is burns, fires are what just terrify me. Spiders, wow. But yeah, I have issue watching movies where someone's caught in a fire. It just freaks me out.
I can see that. Yeah, that's kind of. Are you afraid of being burned yourself?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But I spent so many years, 20 plus years working in a hospital that had a burn unit.
Oh.
So, yeah. So I have all the horror stories to tell about it. But it's funny you mentioned, laughing at the jump scare. Years ago, and this really is years ago because when I was a teenager, and we've already established that y'all are all children. But back when I was young and my knees worked and I actually took karate classes, me and a couple friends went to the local county fair when it was in, and we're going through one of these little haunted house things, and the guy jumps out in front of us with a little plastic chainsaw for the jump scare, and me and one of the other guys I was with both punched him at the same time.
Oh no!
and then ended up laughing and apologizing and picking him back up.
Hazardous job.
It provoked not the response he was looking for.
That's
And you were no longer welcome at that haunted house.
Right.
Probably not.
That was at my wife's hometown, this tiny little town in far northwest Minnesota. They did a Halloween carnival thing in an old abandoned creamery. So the building was creepy to begin with. And they were doing a good job. It was spooky. They had plenty of fog machine stuff. And you walked into this one larger kind of room, I don't know, 20 by 20, not huge, but it was kind of like all wide open, which was weird compared to the other rooms we were walking through, where they were kind of keeping us all in a tight group of I think it was 8 to 10 at a time we're going through. You come into this big room and it's like, what's going on? And also the guy came out with a chainsaw, an actual gas chainsaw running. The chain was off of it, obviously, and comes out, and everybody runs to the corner away from him. And I just stood in the middle of the room just laughing. And he came up to me and he's like revving the chainsaw at me. And I'm just laughing. So he just shrugs and runs around me and keeps scaring everybody else. I was just,
right.
I knew
True
it wasn't
professional.
there wasn't a chain on that thing, but it was.
You have the immunity.
Yeah, it's I know it's fake.
Right, right. That's funny. Actually, that makes me think, when you talk about like a fear of being burned and stuff, that this is going to sound weird. That reminds me that I do actually have a phobia. I have like a kind of strong claustrophobia. And it's one that I don't end up encountering very much because it's just like easy to avoid being in small enclosed spaces. But when something happens in a movie, like anytime somebody gets tossed into a trunk of a car, you know what I mean? Like kidnapped and thrown into a trunk of a car, it's like, oh my God, that's my nightmare. Can't handle it.
So you wouldn't want to watch the film Buried, starring Ryan Reynolds, where he's buried alive.
That would not work out well for me, no.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. I know which movie that is. I thought about checking that one out.
It's pretty good.
I always like on the trunk of a car, the trunk releases. I don't know if every brand of car, I work in rental cars, so I see, the new stuff. But the releases from inside the trunk, they're glow in the dark. So, you can get out. But then the emblem on them shows a little stick figure with a dotted line behind him that makes it look like he's jumping and then running. So it's like,
right.
If like you pull it and you get out, you run, So
right.
That's helpful.
That's funny.
Like, people in that situation need that encouragement.
Exactly. I need the directions. I'm going to pop it open and not know what to do after.
Because I can't imagine a lot of people accidentally lock themselves in the trunk. It just can't happen all that frequently. It's definitely.
When I get out, I'm just going to stroll down the sidewalk. Yeah.
Right. All right. So let us know horror movies that are going to scare
a teenage girl.
Mini Chig. Yep.
Yes.
Do it. It's going to be great. That's the Chiglet.
The Chiglet.
Had we come up with that already, or is that new?
Yeah, that's old. Yeah, I know that. That was been around.
Good.
Yeah.
It's like the first thing.
Yeah. All right. Hey, next thing up, there's been some Galnet going on since we've last talked on the podcast. Last we talked, the Federation and the Imps had just gotten into a big fight, and everyone was fighting along with them. Of course, the Federation finished that up yesterday I guess it didn't. Did they finish Tier 5? I don't know if they finished Tier 5 of the CG, but it got pretty close. That was an obvious victory. There's a Galnet article. I'm going to kind of tackle these quickly because I feel like we are going to sort of move through this. There was a bunch more terrorist attacks by the Neo-Marlinists, setting off some more bombs as fighting continues to happen. Basically, everything's getting worse as far as that's concerned. And then there's on the 9th of November, the ghost ship leads the Alliance to new resources. So foreshadowing for a little bit in the future here, but basically new barnacle sites are found, and the Alliance is gonna time to put themselves back into the news, I guess. More on that in a bit. Then we have Hadrian Duval seeking to be reintegrated into the imperial royal family, however you want to call it, and he sort of makes this plea that, like, how am I interpreting this? So it's sort of like we all need to stand together to fight back against. I guess I feel like I kind of like what he's saying, right? He's saying, like, we need to stand together and save the empire from the terrorists, but he's specifically saying, like, we're not trying to fight the Marlinists. We're trying to fight this neo-Marlinist terrorism thing. You know, it's like a totally different thing, and kind of trying to get on Team Aisling, and that's interesting to see how that will play out. Feel free to interject any thoughts here, by the way, or I'm just going to keep reading the news.
Well, I think
good podcasting or not.
I think his plea was more, we all need to band together so you can stop fighting me and we all fight the terrorists. Because, you know, his faction is, it's kind of on the outs.
The Nova Imperium?
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about? Yeah. Well, he cited the brutal purge of Nova Imperium's followers in 3305, and basically saying, like, it seems like you're sort of doing the same thing now with the Marlinists, who are peaceful just because there's a few that have been setting off bombs. And yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see which way that goes, because you can interpret it either way.
Right. So then today on the 12th, we have the end of the war in LTT 1935 with a Federation victory. And that means we should all have our rewards, right? I actually did go and claim my money rewards, although I do notice that I have not advanced in rank. I am still Duke and Rear Admiral in both, and I was top 50 or top 75 in both. So I don't know when those rewards are going to dispense, but...
I think someone in the Discord mentioned by the 14th. Commander Rage.
Okay.
By the 14th.
So it's a little delayed. Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. And then also today, the start of the next community goal, which I'm doing a little bit of right now while we podcast. There is some Alliance stuff going on. The Alliance moving on the Coalsack Nebula, as we foreshadowed earlier. They're going to try to set up some new stations out there with this new place to the barnacle sites. And there is Thargoid activity, and they're trying to build things. So basically, we've got some, let me call up my links here. We've got two community goals that are sort of the same goal, but there's a trade side of it and an anti-Xeno combat side. So for trade, we're delivering some things, in this case, power generators, robotics, structural regulators, and building fabricators to this megaship that will be in Musca Dark Region PJ-P space B6-1. Awesome name. Anyway, but they're basically, depending on how many tons of supplies we deliver, we'll choose how many of the stations they're putting up in various systems around there are upgraded to full starports. And on the anti-Xeno side, shoot Thargoids and contribute in that way. Essentially, that's the protecting the cargo runners aspect of it. And the rewards, besides financial in this case, seem to be another double engineered module. In this case, a size 5A frameshift drive that has long range and fast boot sequence on it. So I think that is interesting, and it will be interesting to see how this shakes out. So the last time we had the double module was this missile launcher that had lightweight as well as high capacity. And it seemed to me like there were certain aspects of the mods that sort of canceled out, or they, the customized nature of what the mod was, like the combined two mods, it lost some of the negatives from one of them, kind of thing, or some parts of it sort of weren't included. So in this case,
when you view the module like in game, I think it only displays one of the mods, but it's like when you look at the stats.
Right, you got to sort of look at the stats and because they're not going to sort of wave it in your face, but you can say, oh, that's actually a lot lighter than it's supposed to be, kind of thing. So I'm curious to see. It seems to me like this will either be a module that's sort of like cute and fun, or it will be the far and away the best size 5 frameshift drive you can have, because there's a sort of minor side effect of the fast boot sequence is it actually does at grade 5 it does 15% increased optimized mass, which is the main thing that increased range is doing. So if those aspects of the mod, if those aspects of the mod don't double count, essentially, then you just have one, an increased range frameshift drive that will boot up faster if it gets shut down. This is if you power it down or if it gets hit with like a FSD interrupt missile. So that's fine.
To compare that 15% optimized mass increase to the increased range FSD mod at grade 5, it can increase that optimized mass anywhere from 45 to 55%. So, not an insignificant portion there.
Yeah. So it's like if those do stack, then you could have upwards of like 85%, or 80%, I guess. And then if you stuck Mass Manager on top of that, I believe that's an additional 4%. So you could end up, and a size 5 is what a DBX takes, by the way. So you could end up with, a DBX that who knows how far it would be able to jump if these things actually do stack. I wonder if it might be that they kind of don't include that section of the mod, and really it's just an increased range that boots up faster, and they don't double down on it. But those are, aspects of those two mods do affect the same stat. So it's interesting. I'm curious. I'm planning on getting myself, I'm going to try like crazy. So you need to be in top 25%. Is that right?
Yes.
To get these. So that's pretty high.
Dubs and I are talking about making some Anaconda murder boats and shard cannoning the hell out of some Thargoids this weekend.
Just brute forcing them.
See how many we can kill and work our way up. See how big of one we can kill if we can get a wing or two together, and just see if we can just blow some up.
Last time
all of us are able to, solo them in both big ships, Cyclops anyway, in big ships and medium ships. So, we all know what we're doing. So to go out there and work our way up the ladder a little bit with some big ships. It's been a while though.
Well, the last, not too long ago, there was a community goal that had some anti-Xeno combat. And I went out a couple of nights in wings with some other player. I know how to solo Cyclopses and easy enough kind of by myself in medium ships. But in a wing, we could do basilisks, and actually Medusas end up sort of being almost easier. So I got 3 or 4 of those. I mean, they end up being worth so much more in bonds that it really just 3 or 4 of those was enough to put me in top 10% of commanders on that. So yeah, like I wonder, like at the point where I don't know, brute forcing Cyclopses at 2 million a pop for those. Yeah, but you could do them so fast at that with that sort of style of attack, right? That you might just be better off that way.
Yeah, but you could brute force probably Medusas if you get 4 shard cannon.
A wing of the shard cannon murder boats and just take them right out, ignore the swarm kind of deal. Yeah, interesting. On the other side of it, I have my carrier parked at a system that has a good deal on power generators and a buttload of supply. And there's at least somebody out here with me. I posted it in Discord, basically saying, like, for those of you who are new commanders who could probably make very good use of this reward, but would find it really difficult to move enough cargo all the way out to the Coalsack Nebula because you don't have a carrier, and probably don't then also have the kind of equipment and experience to be able to work your way up that far into the anti-Xeno combat. So my carrier is out here buying power generators at a low price, and I'm planning on loading it up and flying it out there and then letting everybody unload it. So hopefully a lot of people can get pretty high into that aspect, into the trade aspect of the CG as well. So
for the last anti-Xeno CG, I don't think that like the Thargoid presence actually changed. Like the signal, it was just the signal sources, no new conflict zones.
Right.
I haven't heard either way if anything has changed in the Coalsack or in the Muskedark.
Yeah, I saw something on AXI's Discord today. They put out an announcement that it seems like it's the same as Witchhead, except that there are threat 8s that have solo Medusas in them, which didn't seem to be happening previously in Witchhead. The Medusas we were finding were always coming with a couple of scouts, which I think means it's the passive Medusa. Or is that the angry Medusa? I don't know. But anyway, so it seems like we have signal sources, but with that slight change, and I think they said that those threat 8s had disappeared from Witchhead, so perhaps that's a sign that the Thargoids are kind of moving their primary force over to Coalsack. So, yeah. Anyway,
so Trax, are you going to give us a brute force murder boat build?
Well, I haven't actually built a ship like that before, so we'd probably ask Dubs, but I imagine it would just be put as many shard cannons as you can on an Anaconda and then fill all the slots with armor. In a certain sense, that
advanced missile racks too.
The advanced missile rack's apparently quite effective.
Well, if you combine them, all of a sudden you have 8 anti-Xeno weapons instead of 4, because they don't count as experimental.
Oh, they don't count. Oh, I get it. Yeah.
So you have your 4 shards that you can use, and then you add
the shards are
the
guardian
missiles.
weapons.
Yep. So
and I
you
believe
can only have 4 of those.
The advanced missile racks, I think you have to synth the AX ammo.
AX ammo.
For those, you need some mats ready to go there.
And what are the mats? Are they like guardian mats or something irritating like that?
Ooh, I don't know. I can look.
I can take a quick look here.
Somebody do a glance.
I just went and bought some, so I've got them on my ship. Inventory synth.
Propulsion elements.
Oh, ugly.
Yeah, those grade 5 organic circuitry. Yeah.
Easy peasy. If you're stocked up on engineering mats.
But it's not just engineering mats, that's the thing. It's the guardian crap.
Well, it's Thargoid, like Thargoid drops some of these things when you kill them.
Like scout hunting?
I think so. Something like that.
Scout hunting and scooping the remnants. Okay.
Some of these mats drop when you kill interceptors, like the propulsion elements do. There's probably other ways to get them.
I've definitely seen scouts dropping those.
Oh, yeah.
I'm maxed
out on them.
If you were farming mats, probably the way to go would be to bring some ship with, turreted multis or something and collector limpets and go into those, the scouty threat 4s to farm. Well, so that's what's going on in game. I think it's time to hit some out of game stuff. So this thing happened, not on a computer. There was what? Yeah. So there's this world outside of computers. And apparently, do you remember? This is for me, I'm thinking, when I was in school, I was a young child, and I would hear about these things called newspapers. It's sort of like that. So, you print a bunch of like letters and pictures on paper, okay? And then you sort of like staple them together. It's like a book, but it's really thin. And then you give that to people for money, I guess.
Like a tablet?
No, because when you touch it, nothing happens. It's just like a page of paper. Like, so you know how when you write on a paper and then you look at it, like it doesn't change after that. It's just whatever you wrote, it's just there.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I got it.
How far do you want me to go with this?
I think you're on drugs. It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Nurgle probably remembers those things, though.
Thanks, man.
Old man Nurgle, regale us with your stories of magazines.
Yeah, well, back in my day, Sonny.
They'd set them right next to the rotary phone, and
this is like
listen to 8 tracks.
This is like the YouTube videos of somebody gives a baby a magazine and they're like swiping on it, nothing's happening, and they start crying.
Yep.
Anyway, so the print version of PC Mag or PC Gamer? Shoot. I can't remember.
PC Gamer magazine, isn't it?
PC Gamer. Okay.
PC Gamer magazine, yes.
Yep.
Okay, so PC Magazine is a different magazine, isn't it?
Well,
I think
it's PC
is.
Gamer, but it's the PC Gamer magazine because they've got PC Gamer website also. So it is.
Okay, all right.
It's the actual
PC
print
Gamer
version.
The print version of PC Gamer had an article that had interview with some dev stuff about Elite Dangerous. A lot of the pictures seem to be all stuff that we've seen before about Odyssey, not just Elite Dangerous. And there's other details. They go into more detail that hadn't been released yet, specifically about aspects of the way the on-foot combat is going to work, as well as kind of getting around and a couple of other juicy details. So, I think rather than doing any kind of like explanation or breakdown or something, like this is worth sort of discussing. The greater thing here is the main thing they're kind of explaining is that this is not going to be a Fortnite kind of arcadey situation, but they described it as something a little more realistic and a little more between an action shooter and like a methodical strategy kind of situation, something kind of in the middle of that, which I rather like that idea. So what does that mean to you? For one thing, I don't have this magazine in my hand, so it's like sort of hard to read, and I'm mostly going off of, like what I've seen people talk about kind of on the forums, and like Obsidian Ant did a video kind of running down in some detail kind of the whole thing.
Yes, some of the text I can see, some of the text I can make out is where Jackson says, Frontier's making sure, I'm quoting here, Frontier's making sure that the combat falls in line with the rest of the game in terms of simulation and depth.
Okay, right.
More of a tactical, slower a little bit than Call of Duty or Fortnite, with a good level of
I read
modules
that,
and customization.
Yeah, and that's what I read that more because honestly, it's more saying that it's really how you'd want to play it. If people just want to run and shoot at each other like it's Fortnite, they can. If they want to stay away from each other, exactly. That's just it. I think that where it becomes more tactical is it gets into the fact of it's not going to be. I don't know, it's a way for them to say that they don't have to balance it strictly for PvP because, it's going to be more about how you gear yourself and use tactics. It's not necessarily always going to be a fair fight. That's how I read it, is they're not going to, balance it that way. And you're going to have to think about what you're doing. You're not going to take, an Eagle against a Corvette, in the same way you won't take a med suit against a combat suit kind of thing. You're going to kind of play it by ear and think your battles through rather than just running around pew-pewing.
And they specifically talk about the kinds of upgrades and things like it does sound a bit like ship outfitting, right? Where this suit will have the ability to add more guns or something to it, like a secondary fire gun or something like that, whereas another suit might not. And thinking about from those perspectives, which I guess we sort of knew that, but
yeah, I'm pretty sure at a code level, suits behave exactly like ships.
Right. So then there's this other kind of point that I think kind of brings us into the greater discussion about what we think this all means and what is exciting and other things like that. Is they also talked about getting around in like is it Apex Travel? I still haven't memorized
Apex Interstellar.
this stuff. Apex Interstellar.
Yeah.
Right.
The travel agent.
And they mentioned, the travel agent, they've already said that you would be able to play the game without a spaceship if you wanted to. But now we're hearing additionally that you could do what they call the physical multi-crew. So meaning like if I multi-crew onto your ship as a person, I'm physically there and you're physically transporting me rather than telepresence. Which, in and of itself, like I think this is what we expected. The thing that suggests to me is that the code refresh and like the major under the hood changes are real. And I'm very jazzed about that because the way multi-crew versus wings like can't exist at the same time, the SRV can't exist at the same time. Like we know, we've been told that we're going to have on foot, in SRV, in ships, all coming together at the same time. I can physically multi-crew onto your ship, so you could taxi me to where I want to go or to the deployment point for a mission or whatever. I think this means the code refresh that we sort of theorized and heard teased. We've got to work on that sort of stuff. This technical debt has to be gone for all this stuff to work. Hit it. Who's
that's what I'm most excited about, because and you mentioned that not being able to combine wings and multi-crew has been an issue, and the fact that that they said you can physically cart somebody around almost outright implies that they've addressed that.
I don't know, because I mean, you can ride in somebody's ship right now. You won't see the body, but you can be riding in somebody's ship, in a turret, and all of that. So I believe that yes, there is going to be some kind of code refresh, code update, just a code cleanup. But I mean, like what I saw, from somebody is I don't know how much it matters if they go about the same practices they've gone in the past. If they get this nice code refresh, as soon as you get a code refresh, it's all nice and clean, but that comes with all of its own bugs. A new game always has all those bugs, and that's when you get a patch to fix it. And that's when the spaghetti begins, is when they're fixing it. And instead of fixing it,
it's true,
the right way, they fix it the quickest and easiest way, and then you start getting the spaghetti. So we get rid of, if they get a code refresh, we get rid of all the bugs we have now, hopefully, but it's going to be a whole new series of new game type bugs that then they're going to fix those bugs, which will create new bugs, and we end up in the same place we were. So I don't mean to sound, pessimistic or down.
That is the
on
weirdest
the idea,
optimism I've ever heard.
But I'm hoping that they clean it
screws.
Yeah,
never look at the bright side of things.
Yes, but that's the side of it. A lot of people instantly think that if they clean it, we get this code refresh, everything's going to work great. But I think you're gonna have a whole new series of bugs you're dealing with, and I don't mean Thargoids.
Hopefully, they're new bugs, and we've squashed the old ones, though.
Yeah, that's the hope.
But I count that as progress.
Data.
Yes.
When I think about the physical multi-crew, I think about that more in terms of them, more in the context of them providing ways for you to play without a ship, like with the Apex Interstellar. This way, another player can cart you around instead of a NPC taxi cab, and you can get out of the ship. Your current multi-crew hologram couldn't get out of the ship and go into a building, but now you'll be able to.
Yeah, and that thought crossed my mind, is getting a second account just to play through without a ship and, be playing that way. But then again, if they ever actually come out with achievements in this game, I want them all on just one account. So I have a real hard time going a second account.
Yeah. So you just brought it up, but all next week on the Epic Store, Elite Dangerous, which now includes Horizons, of course, is going to be free. Mm-hmm. So this is, of course, a big ploy by the Epic Store to get you in there. But basically, anybody can get an alt for free. And you just said what I'm thinking whenever I think about getting an alt. I don't play an alt, but every time I think about it, I think but why would I then I'd be on that, wishing I was getting these mats, on my other account, so they can all be in one place. Do any of you play alts?
No, I've never wanted to. I put so much.
It's
time
always
into
an
this.
exploration thing, right?
Yeah. If you're way out there.
I consider getting a console account so that I could just sit on my couch and play with the controller once in a while. But then it comes back to the amount. I don't consider this grind, but I've done a lot of grinding in this game, and I'd hate to be doing that on another character. So I have a hell of a time even considering doing it. You brought up the Epic Store thing, though. That to me causes a little bit of speculation in my mind, because obviously before Odyssey launches, they want as many people as humanly possible to have this game. Because the previous version. Exactly. Right. So you can sell it to as many people as possible. The timing of that coming out right ahead of Black Friday and stuff, I'm wondering if we're going to see pre-sales coming up sooner rather than later.
Well, you would think the PC Gamer article, it's let's face it, it's a sales pitch. Yeah, you would think that they would not release that until they were ready to put something out there to capitalize on the excitement.
Yep, and that shows to me that I think we might be seeing this sooner rather than later. Earlier into the first quarter rather than later into the first quarter. Because otherwise, you start giving away the game for free, unless they're planning multiple sales like this, over the next couple months. But we're really, God, think about it. We're halfway through November right now. 2021 is coming up very fast.
Yeah, for sure. Well, okay, so that's the thing. I probably should have put that at the top of the show, but I don't know. I guess I would be silly not to go get an alt on the Epic Store. I don't really plan on installing the Epic Store on my computer. Just having it there, I guess, is like a whatever. Maybe I'll want it someday. Maybe I'll want to let somebody else use it someday,
I'll go on and click purchase on the free game, but I might not download it just yet.
On the website or something, right? Yeah. But okay, so then back to just this stuff about, I was feeling quite optimistic about the code refresh and how much I feel like and this stuff about physical multi-crew, meaning that I'm right, that the code refresh is coming and it's going to contain all these things. And Chig, I'm going to refer to your opinion as very, very weird optimism rather than pessimism.
Thank you.
Well, because here's the thing, you have to admit though, that if we're changing these things, the way I've always thought about it, and I've heard plenty of other people say this, I do not think it's an original idea to me, but it makes perfect sense that in this game, when it started out, you were the spaceship. And at some point we got the ability to, originally you couldn't even have more than one ship, right? And then eventually they add the ability to have more than one ship. So then they're stored somewhere, right? And then you have to fly to where your other ship is to switch. And, we didn't even have ship transfer for a while. All these things happened. So basically the way the code is designed, the player entity is the spaceship. And then at the point where we have multi-crew and the SRV, like these are also the player, right? The player has to become the SRV, and then the player has to become this other thing that sits inside another player, essentially. And that, because of the way they inserted those things, it causes this weirdness where you can't have wings at the same time as multi-crew, and the SRV is incompatible and other things like that. So maybe technical debt is the wrong word, but if we're changing those in such a way that we can be physically present on someone's spaceship, then I still think it's very possible and even logical that we're changing that fundamental thing on the back end of this game, so you're not your spaceship anymore. I mean, you're attached to it. It could be that this isn't the case, and when you're flying your spaceship, it's the old version of the code, and when you're on foot, it's the new version of the code. But it doesn't seem like it would be the right thing, the right way to do it, rather than create this kind of jumping off point where, sure, we're going to create new spaghetti code as more updates come out, but for the time being, we should be fine. And hopefully we'll chase those bugs down through some betas and over the first month or so, the new bugs, right? But we will at least get rid of, well, multi-crew, just if you're in there for more than 10 minutes, it just fails and you got to disconnect and reconnect. Like this happens constantly, and just the basic failure of not being able to wing and multi-crew at the same time. And what about wing size too? This bothers me over and over again, right? Only having 4. I mean, don't you guys think this has to change? And surely we'll have new bugs, but like, come on.
It's got to get better with as much as Frontier is pushing the physical presence and the moving around without a ship, right?
Yeah,
they've got to improve the playing together part of the game.
Playing together, right? Mixing and matching on foot and everything. I think the positional resolution, this is actually something that I don't think he meant it exactly like this, but David Braben said in that video interview that came with the original Odyssey announcement about sort of the physical resolution is now shrinking down to the on-foot size. And I'm thinking of like when I'm flying over a surface and there are SRVs down there, there's a difference in sort of the scale of what you can shoot and hit and stuff like that. Like not too long ago, I ferried some people out to the Guardian sites on my carrier, and I have all the things I needed, but while they were rolling around, getting the keys and getting the blueprints and stuff, I just flew a fighter, and I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to like be air superiority against the Guardian Sentinels. You know, they're actually extremely hard to hit in a fighter because you can't really, it's like it's at the wrong scale. The Guardian Sentinel is meant to be interacted with from the SRV. So when I'm in a ship or even a fighter, the smaller version of a ship, it's still like the wrong scale. So you almost can't even target it. And it's difficult. Like its hitbox is like way smaller than anything you ever shoot at when you're in a ship. And it's noticeable. And I think that's one of the things that is kind of happening or implied in the background here is like, that's all going to have to sort of mix a little bit. And maybe it's still going to be hard. Maybe that's part of where the balance comes from, right? It's still going to be hard to hit an individual human being on a surface from a ship. Because if it wasn't, wouldn't it be ridiculous to have ships and on foot engage in the same combat?
Well, we're going to town.
Yeah. That's all going to be solved with the Ty Worsham method and just pancake them with your Anaconda.
Your Corvette.
Well, it's a Corvette.
Or Corvette, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, totally. I hope Ty
Corvette.
wasn't listening to that one.
I'm going to beep that out.
Edit that out.
No, first off, you say,
Sacrilege.
you know, the implication. Well, it's implied, the implication. When I think of the implication, I think of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Fans of that show will know what I'm talking about, but we'll move on from that.
Okay, set me straight.
You know, the implication. No, I'm with you. Now, you bring back the David Braben thing. That was cool when he was talking about that, because he was talking about how we are bringing the game down, you know, basically kind of from the macro down to the micro, but you can still see, you know, the forest for the trees. We're going to be down among the trees, and you're still going to see the whole forest because everything is still in the correct position and everything else. And that's one. When he was talking about that, I did take that as that was the challenge, is moving up and down in those scales, because this isn't like some games where, you're holding something in your hand and then you're looking at something 50 feet away. This is, you're holding something in your hand, you're looking at something 50 feet away, you're looking at something 1,000 miles away, you're looking at something light years away. It's insane. And they keep everything in scale and in position. And it's amazing. I just hope that they do pull all that together, because this game, reason, for that, everybody's favorite term, spaghetti code, back to It's Always Sunny, what is our spaghetti policy here? But
two jokes.
But what we've got is we need a wild card, bitches. Now I'm losing my train of thought. Yeah, I lost it. Sorry.
Spaghetti code.
Now I want to go. I want to go watch.
I want to pick up on that.
The reason that the spaghetti code is the way that it is because this game is so complex. There's so many things going on, and now they're tacking on basically an entire another game to this game, and now have to make those play friendly. So yes, they do have to update the code just in order to make all of that work. But Jesus, like I said, that's going to come with its whole, whole other set of problems. There we go with my odd optimism again.
Well,
well, no, go on. I talked too much.
But Chig said earlier that one of their difficulties is going to be keeping everything in perspective as you change scales from macro to micro. I don't actually think that's the challenge, because you could have different code bases for on foot versus in ships.
Don't tell me that.
The trick is you could. I don't think it would be wise, but you could.
Yeah, but when you go to on foot, the stars are still going to be in the proper space.
The trick is going to be making it all work when those perspectives are mixed, because they've already said that you're going to be able to fly, air support for ground troops and have SRV. So it's all going to be mixed, and it's going to be making it all work where you have one instance that has all three different perspectives in it. That's where the challenge is going to be. Because if it was just you're going to be walking around on the ground versus you're going to get in a ship and fly, those two methods of playing the game are separated and can operate independently. It's when they have to mix that the challenge comes in, and that's what I hope they've gotten right.
Some of the perspective of scale is handled by a disguised loading screen. And meaning like the stars are all in the right spot. It just creates a galaxy map. And that's not hard with computers, right? It's an image that's projected onto the parallax background of our instance. Okay. But that's very cool. That's awesome. And you don't need any more than that because the stars are that far away. So that's all you need. And when we drop down to the surface of a planet, we go through the drift or whatever, right? We
the loading
sort of have
the glide.
We have this transitional period where it clicks over, and now it's going to suddenly take us in. And I think what they've done looks outstanding for what it is.
Oh yeah.
But it does. It's the combination, right? How are we gonna? And it's not like ships and SRVs don't already exist in the same instance, but it just feels like they're not connected. I just was thinking about that when I was trying to shoot it at Sentinels from a fighter. It's different. It was noticeably different than trying to fire on other spaceships.
And see, I didn't notice that much of a difference. When we did our screwball game, and I had to go back to work that night, so instead of getting mixed up in the SRV, I just was filming from above and watching you guys play. I kept shooting the ground near you guys on purpose. I wasn't trying to shoot anybody, and I was shooting right where I wanted to shoot, next to you guys. It was leaving, scorches in the dirt, everything else, and watching it just didn't see it. But that could have been because we were players sharing an instance. It wasn't players and NPCs. I don't know. It didn't seem that odd to me, but I've never gone and, tried shooting Sentinels from a ship or a fighter.
Well, you weren't trying to hit us either.
Right, true.
Because
but it really seemed like I probably could have pretty easily.
But it's I think that's the thing. It's more difficult than you think it's going to be. Like, we should try it sometime, but because I've heard other people talk about this too. Like, it's sort of a game, right, to try to hit the SRV with a plasma accelerator. Because you think it's going to have this massive splash damage if you get anywhere near it, right? Which is true for like missiles, but I've tried to use plasma accelerators when I'm doing like surface strike missions and stuff like that. And I mean, you have to bullseye that thing. If you're off by a little bit, it doesn't seem to do any damage. And I think there's some kind of scale difference. It's like from a video game perspective, like the hitbox is different. Whereas in an SRV, it's like super easy to hit any of these things. That's kind of what I'm thinking of, like fighting the Guardians. Like the SRV has no trouble targeting it because we're all on the same sort of like scale factor. So we can target it and our weapons will kind of like have that little bit of gimbal. And that's not going to happen. It's like when we're trying to fake those scan missions from a ship without getting into your SRV. You have to get so close.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I feel like you have to get closer than you have to with your SRV just to get it to come up, because it's hard. And I think that's what I mean by the scale difference. Ships are just so big. They are. That's true.
Yeah, if your weapons have a jitter, a few degrees on them, that's probably longer than the length of an SRV. Definitely a person.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely a Sentinel.
So here's the other $64 question. Do they expand the size of wings, or at least the number of people you can get into an instance?
God, I hope so.
Oh, I hope so bad.
I don't,
because you got to think if.
Go ahead.
If they do, what I think they're going to do, and actually be able to fix multi-crew and wings, you could conceivably have 4x3, 12 people in an instance. Of course, a bunch of them would be in co-pilot seats. But it comes down to how many resources are you going to be able to fit into one of these instances, and how many individuals can you get in?
And I wonder a lot of times if that has to do with, their networking architecture they've decided to go with. So I don't know what code fixing would fix that unless they do some stuff on the back end, do more of the heavy lifting on there.
Right.
But
move it somewhat off peer to peer.
And, I really, really want that. I really want the code refresh. But more than that, I want quality of life things in Odyssey. I hate to go off topic on it, but fuck.
No, that's fine.
Give me more than 120 stored modules, and give me some way to organize the goddamn things. Scrolling through the entire list looking for stuff is just so tedious. Give me a new way to outfit my
search
ship.
Filters.
Yeah, search filters. But I mean, it's just so tedious. I don't know how Dubs spends so much time, trying out new ships all the time. I think I want to get a new ship, and I go and I do it, and I buy it, and I start outfitting it, then I start engineering it, then I start going, wait, I think I have this gun somewhere. Oh, no, I don't.
But who knows
I gotta do this.
And then you have to rely on Inara.
Yep, you got to go to Inara or Coriolis. You got to go build the ship there, then come back, go to Inara, see if you have that module somewhere. And it's just that's what I want to fix. And bookmarks. Goddamn bookmarks.
Well, let's go around then. We haven't done this in a couple of weeks. What's going to be your top 3 quality of lives? Chig, what you're kind of on it. What are those your top 3?
I'll go with those top 3. Yeah, I'll change my mind by next week, but yeah, those will be my top 3 this week.
So you're saying modules,
ship streamlining modules or module storage. It goes into outfitting. Let's just call it outfitting. We'll combine shipbuilding and module storage into one outfitting thing. Whether you can save different
loadout presets.
Yeah, loadouts. Yes. Save different loadouts because you have all the stuff, and it'll pull it from your Anaconda for you, because apparently you can magically store stuff, everywhere.
Instantly.
Exactly. So, just that. Fix outfitting, especially 120 stored modules. Are you freaking kidding me? I can fill ships with stuff, but I can't just store more modules. It's mind-boggling. And then bookmarks after that, and then third, getting the multiplayer stuff fixed, getting the networking so that, the player being on your ship, we're not going to run into the normal issues. Multi-crew and wing together at the same time. More people. Let us go to at least 8 in a wing, or if we're on the ground, calling it a squad, I guess, if we're going to be working cooperatively, at least flights. 8.
Maybe we join, we have the ability to join wings. Maybe we can join 4 wings together. So they still perform as wings with the way they are now, but at least then we can all be instanced, and then we can have, they have the light blue, we could have 3 other colors.
Yes. There we go. That would make me happy. Yes. Go ahead, Data. What do you think?
I can think of a couple right now because I'm running thousands of tons of cargo for the CG. It have to do with fleet carriers. There's some bug where I think if you are pulling up to your carrier and you look at your inventory, and then when you try to transfer it to your carrier after you land, that button stays grayed out.
Yep.
Transfer button grays out.
Yeah. That's a bug. That's not a quality of life improvement, though. You're cheating.
You're being strict on me, huh?
It is. I just had that like 5 minutes ago, by the way. But that's a bug.
Okay.
Do you want us to come back to you?
Viewing carrier inventory in game when you're not on the carrier. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a good way to do that right now, unless
No, there's not.
Something.
Yeah.
So some way to view that remotely.
You can view your commodity market, which will have your inventory on it, even if it's not listed for sale. In fact, let me try it because I'm not on my carrier right now. So let me go to carrier management, and I'm going to go down to commodity trading, manage market. And yeah, I can see all the items, like even if they're not, don't have a buy or sell order, they'll still be there in like a darker color.
Very nice. Well, then.
But you can't you're not viewing it like an inventory screen. You're viewing it like a market screen.
Well, then apparently this is a perfect game. I don't have any complaints about it. I'll keep thinking.
Nurgle, explain why it's not perfect.
Nurgle, what do you got?
Number one for me would be multiplayer fixes, getting wings and stuff working together, and part of that would be more people in an instance too.
Yeah.
I think I like Chig's idea of outfitting quality of life improvements for that. That would be tremendous, just tremendous. And then for me, I want new and interesting ways to interact with the BGF.
So like new states?
Do states maybe. They've already hinted that you're going to be able to do BGS actions on the ground, so some different mission types. Now, I've clearly stated before that this is my spaceflight simulator. I don't want a first-person shooter in my game, so I probably won't be doing those missions. I'll be flying cap for them. But having new and interesting ways to, even if it's different mission types, something to break it up and give us new avenues to do things.
For sure.
So, and especially since, we've kind of, I don't think we've ever talked about this in depth, but there are different BGS buckets that you can fill.
Yeah.
Adding a different bucket. So there's a whole new and different way to influence a faction, be that on the ground or whatever, would be fascinating and would add a whole new level of depth to that part of the game.
So, and this is to explain, this is the idea that like when you're running missions for influence, you can put a bunch of sort of chips into that bucket, and then after a certain point, it stops having as much of an effect. It is a diminishing return, and then you turn around and go do something like selling trade or selling exploration data. And those would have not hit their diminishing returns yet on that particular day.
Correct. So adding a whole nother bucket there, which would throw, what we know about BGS into chaos, but would be fantastic. It'd be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
What do you got, Trax?
I'm being interdicted. How fun. So, I have said on a few occasions that I wanted a bunch of menu updates. I still think that my idea for like the way that like phone menus work on phones, radial, where it's like a wheel, the radial picker, I think would be a much better menu system. But I want to append that because I think we need search filters sort of game wide, and I think this would solve this. This would impact the galaxy map. It would impact bookmarks, modules in your storage, modules in the market, commodities in the market, settings, graphic settings, control bindings. Everything should have a search field with that filters, right? So it's, you start typing FSD, you get FS on there, and then all the FSD related control bindings are the only thing that's on the screen now. Stuff like that would save everybody so much time and hassle and kind of learning.
Yeah, just having a search engine in this game would help for sure.
Yeah, and you could imagine using it on the galaxy map and start typing Hades sector and like have all of the other stars kind of disappear while that search filter applies, right? So that's one that ends up being sort of global. Obviously like 120 slots of module storage is so silly, and I have all these drop ships full of hard points and stuff, and other ships just I've loaded up their internals with crap, and I can store those all on my carrier, but I can't store individual modules. I don't care if they take up a ton of storage each, or what they weigh, like whatever. It'd be easier to deal with. And I love those other ideas too. I think, so I'm trying to think of like new things that have been irritating me more lately that I could do with a fix for. And one of them is, when I am having, for one thing, this I guess could be solved by just being able to take a module straight off of one ship and put it onto another ship. But barring that, like if you didn't want to do that, I think a fleet carrier, if I have outfitting, or maybe if I have a shipyard or something, it should come with a basic stock of E-rated core modules, because there's been plenty of times when I couldn't move a module from one ship to another because I didn't have a module to replace it with, and it was a core module, right? So it was the thrusters, and I want to take them off of my FDL and put them on my Mamba, but I can't do that. So I had to go to a station and store those modules, thus replacing them with E-rated modules, which, by the way, happen automatically at every station. Every station always has all the E-rated modules. Now, why is that okay if I can't have them on my fleet carrier, And you can't just buy those in outfitting, right? Like I can't just go, I have a shipyard or an outfitting pack. The way they sell the outfitting packs on carriers, it's like, a few chunks of modules, and some of them are E and C rated and D rated and stuff. I can't just buy a pack of every core module in an E rating in every size. You know what I mean? And just have that there for when I need to transfer modules around my ship. The need to have thrusters on a ship. Why do I have that need? Why can't I take the thrusters off of a ship? And then the next time I try to use that ship, like it would say, like I get the warning, you have limpets and this ship you're trying to go to doesn't have a cargo rack, so you can't transfer to it. Well, okay, you can't transfer to this ship because it doesn't have thrusters. Okay, I'll put thrusters on it.
If it saved loadouts for you, then every time you docked your ship, all of your like engineered modules and stuff could go directly into just outfitting, assuming that you landed and and everything went directly into storage.
Oh,
and then when you
just
with
cracked
the ship,
that egg wide open.
You pick the outfitting you want for the ship that you're there. If that ship is landed there, it remembers it had that outfitting the last time it landed, and is that the one you want, or do you want outfitting B that you saved before?
Or even if it was just even if it wasn't automatic and it was just a quick button, like offload all the modules.
Yes.
Save this config, but offload the modules in case I want to use them somewhere else, right?
Or like just store ship.
At the point,
as soon as you hit store ship, it puts all the modules into storage. Then you can use them on your other ships when you go.
They become searchable.
Yep.
Oh man.
Little space clippy.
That's the ticket.
Looks like you're trying to outfit your ship.
Wow. Data. I bet you're glad you didn't think of something now and you have to follow that.
Nothing quite so grand. minor things I can think of. Those are really good ideas. Yeah.
Have anything you'd like to share?
A couple small things. The first one I'm shamelessly stealing from someone that was either wrote it in Discord or was in voice the other day. Maybe it was Dubs. The ability to ignore materials or cargo when you're not in range of one of the canisters. Like, when you look at your contacts.
Oh, yeah. Like it doesn't have to show up on the tab first.
Right, because you're not always around that stuff, or when you are, it can jump around your menu. Be hard to tag. So that would be nice.
Full agree.
Another thing that we've all said in the past, I'm sure, or thought at least, when you're doing your power play, if you're going purchasing the merits route by ferrying leaflets or whatever.
Oh God! Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Give us. Of course, there's more fun ways doing it by combat, but if you're doing it by purchasing the goods, give us a way to buy all that stuff at once. I'd pay whatever.
Yeah, even if it charges
whatever
you
premium
double or triple, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
That's true.
Throw money at the problem.
I've almost got them all done now, but shoot, I would definitely finish off the few I haven't bothered with yet if I could simply pay an extra 10 million or something. You know what I mean? Because
two to go.
You end up. What?
I'm down to 2 to go.
Nice.
Oh yeah. I don't have lances. I don't have the disruptor. I can't remember if there's another one. I might only have 2 as well.
I've got advanced plasma and mining lances. Then I'm done.
Mm-hmm. Well, is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
For any maybe newer players that haven't started doing the power play modules yet, if you just want the modules, don't wait. Just start pledging to a power. There's no downside really to pledging. You're just trying to get those 3 or 4 weeks in so you can start getting your modules.
Yeah, definitely have somebody pledge. So when you do decide to do power play, that first one already has your minimum 4 weeks.
Yeah, that would be great.
Go on and pledge to Ashling.
So you're telling me I should go ahead and do that?
Yes.
Do you have no power plays?
No.
Do
Oh
it.
my God, pledge day.
Do it.
Pledge day, Ashling, and
look for the blue hair. Sign up and wait.
See, that's not the first one I went for, and it's not the first one I would recommend to anybody either.
What do you recommend first? And you're just wrong.
I would probably. It would. I mean, the rest of them are all weapons. Well, I guess except for mining lances. I think I would probably talk to somebody about the way, like the kinds of weapons that they like to use, but probably either pacifiers or packhounds first. Probably packhounds first. I think most people have the most fun with that one.
It is very fun. Yeah.
Whereas I think prismatics, like, there's plenty of situations where it's not the best thing to use, and it's in no situation is it necessary, I think.
Yeah. Most of my builds are based on fast regenning biweaves. So
almost, yeah. In fact, I don't have any builds that don't have, well, that isn't true, my Phantom, but I almost don't have any builds that have anything other than a biweave or a prismatic. And most of them are biweaves. And a bunch of ships I've tested prismatics on and found that I wanted to switch back to the biweave after a while. It does, and and that's not to say like I have plenty of uses for them. I even have the size 3 prismatic on my Python that's for mining. It's not like it's not what I would put on like a battleship.
Yeah, well, that's what I use for sure. I use a smaller sized prismatic on a ship that's used for something else, like my cutter for transporting cargo. The biggest cargo slots are for cargo because that's what I'm doing, and for mining it's for doing. But I like to have that shield on there, so if I run into pirates, I can still murder them. And a size 6 prismatic gives you quite a few megajoules.
Right. That's what my cutter has on it, and then there are times where you do put the giant shield on something on a battleship. My Corvette has prismatics on it. Absolutely. But I could easily work out a biweave cutter build. I probably wouldn't do cutter. A Corvette, and it would be fine as well. It would be a different kind of thing, right? Like I'd probably get rid of the cell banks and use armor instead or something, or who knows? I don't know. I've used cell banks on a biweave before plenty of times. In fact, I have a chieftain that has a cell bank and a biweave. So I don't even know how I got so animated about all this.
I said sign up for the blue-haired lady first.
Most people do. Most people do, don't they?
Yeah, but see, the flip side to that is whichever one I sign up for, in 4 weeks, I'm spending money on modules. And
you don't have to.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
true.
Expensive.
Well, you do if it's the prismatics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is just having your time pledged so that when you do decide you want to buy them, you can buy them. You could stay pledged for the next year. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
You decide you want to do it.
I get it.
You can do it.
That's good
right
advice.
then.
Yeah. Because at the moment with a 400-ton cell of paynite this afternoon, thank you, 870 per ton pricing. I just crossed 5.1 billion.
Ooh.
So
nice.
I don't remember. Do you have a carrier?
In carrier land.
Okay, you're working on getting your carrier. Got it.
Yeah, so I'm going to end up getting a carrier.
Not if you buy prismatics.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So prismatics or any power play module has to wait. But you're right. I should go ahead and pledge so I have the time in when it comes.
I think that's another good reason to go for pack hounds or something, because that you can let it sit there, and you don't have to let it sit there until you have $3 billion in the bank. You know, because they're not going to be a lot of money.
Truth.
The advanced plasma accelerators, or plasma is kind of expensive too for a gun. But nothing even comes close to prismatics.
Prismatics. I don't know. I think I spent $1.5 billion on prismatic shields when I got pledged, but I overbought. I wanted to make sure I had enough to last me forever.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I've been putting off buying a Corvette just because I don't want to plunk down the $1.5 billion when I just got enough to buy a carrier.
Right. You don't want to fork out for the reactive. I bought when they were cheap because of the community goal recently. I hadn't bought a cutter before, so I finally bought 2 cutter hulls. But I actually haven't bought any of the armor because the only one I outfitted is for mining and doubles as trade if I need an armored trader.
Right.
Because my Type 9 doesn't have shields. So in that case, I still haven't, I only have the lightweight alloy that I just engineered up, Yeah. So the other cutter, I guess, if I ever build a battle cutter, that will be the one that gets the reactive that costs $3 billion or whatever the hell it is. I guess it's over $1 billion, isn't it? What does the reactive armor cost on a cutter?
I don't know, but it is a lot. Everything on a cutter is a lot.
Yeah.
Fuck the cutter.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I fucking hate it. It's awful to fly. It's awful.
The best mining ship in the galaxy.
Best mining and transport ship. It's the best at both of those.
I don't think it's the best transport ship because my T9 can carry more. But it is the best transport ship if I'm going to be under siege. And I don't think it's the best miner because laser mining is not the best mining. As soon as the pulse wave scanner.
I mean, how much more can a T9 carry? I mean, how many more tons?
What's that?
How many
Type
more
9?
tons can a Type 9 carry over a cutter?
I think honestly a cutter. I don't know because I didn't totally max it. I have 750 on my Type 9. I can't get to 750 on my cutter without also losing the shields.
Yeah, I ditch my shields to do power play, and it's over 750. And with its boost speed compared to the Type 9, you can do a lot more runs in a Type 9 over the course, over the course of time. It's better than the Type 9.
But what about how when you come into an instance with a station or your carrier and you push the boost on the cutter, you may as well go make a sandwich while you wait for the thing to stop moving.
You need to boost when you're coming in. Well,
that's the thing. You just said with its boost.
No, when you're leaving the station, I'm saying when you're leaving the station, getting outside of the range, you can get off the pad,
exiting
boost.
mass lock.
Yeah. You shoot through the mail slot, right. You get out of mass lock, and you're jumping while the Type 9 is still going through the the mail slot.
All right.
And granted, it's sluggish. I mean, it's a big sluggish ship, but it's a lot more nimble than you think, especially once you engineer the drives.
Right, and I don't think like everybody complains about the turn speed, and sure, it's no Corvette, but it's not the turn speed that bothers me nearly as much as the stopping speed. The decel is
it can stop.
That's why you put big shields on your mining cutter and you litho brake.
Yep, absolutely.
That's right. Just bump them.
Yep, absolutely.
It's a love nudge.
It's just checking the rock.
Exactly. Smelling the rock.
Yeah, well, I hate laser mining, and I didn't want to build this cutter. I was hoping that the pulse wave scanner would get fixed in a matter of a week or two. It did not, so I eventually did build the mining cutter. And I'm not thrilled that it's still not fixed. I will as soon as it is. I'm back in my Python. I'm not gonna.
Me too.
And I'll take all those. I have 4 size 5 collectors on my cutter. Don't care. I'll take them all off, replace them with cargo, and then that'll replace my Type 9, I guess. And anyway,
and this is a conversation we were having on the Discord this afternoon because I have 2 mining ships. I have a Python and I have a cutter, and I do laser mining, so they're both outfitted for the same thing. Why do you have 2? It depends. It depends primarily on the market. Today, the market for Pay Night was 874. So what happened? The cutter came out because, I'm going to grind out 400 tons and go make a big sale all at once. But when prices are down, or especially when it's a medium station or demand is low, we're taking out the Python because there's no reason to take out the big boy.
Okay, right. And that's like from the non-fleet carrier perspective, right? Because I would always want the hull of 512 on my cutter, regardless.
The flip side of that is 512 is 2.5-3 hours mining if you're in a good spot. Mm-hmm. And I don't always want to sit and mine for that long either. But that is also the non-cutter perspective because whatever I'm mining, I have to haul and sell. I can't deposit it somewhere.
Yeah, I couldn't bring myself. I tried going out mining in the cutter again, to just get some more credits, and I can't do it. It's so mind-numbing to just surface mine. Mm-hmm. I need core mining to become a thing again.
Well, that's my podcast listening time.
Ugh.
Mine is when I'm walking the dogs.
Mine is at work.
Yeah, mine is a lot at work too.
What's a podcast?
Shit.
It's the thing you're doing right now.
What? Oh, we can end on that. I think.
We tell him he's being recorded.
Any last thoughts, y'all?
Rest in peace, Alex Trebek.
Yeah.
That was
wait,
a
we had
bummer.
movies and stuff to talk about.
Just
too,
one.
didn't
I
we?
just threw one up there that was interesting.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it was 30 years old.
Home Alone.
Oh,
30 years.
You know who has a funny? I can't remember if it's Twitter or Instagram, but Macaulay Culkin, funny guy these days. Worth checking out. He does not take himself too seriously.
Yeah, he just popped up on something else. I don't remember what it was. Oh, somebody doing some kind of prank. Oh, I saw this. Oh my God, this is completely random. Yeah, but Macaulay Culkin showed up on it. This guy was sick of, or somebody had stolen an Amazon package off his porch. So he decided to figure out a way to catch, people stealing packages. And this guy's some YouTuber. I'd never seen him before, but has a whole bunch of followers, and decided to make these basically Home Alone type traps to set up, and had people apply to his YouTube channel so he could do this at different parts around the country. And he designed a package, an Amazon package, but inside of it was 4 cell phones. No matter what way somebody would open it up, they'd be on camera being taped, so he could catch them on film. Then it started doing this fart spray stuff that was just super, super stinky. Did a glitter bomb where it shot glitter all over the place. Then was doing fake CB, police call stuff, Yes, we're tracking the package. It's on the move, as the person's bringing it up to bring it outside.
Oh my
went through
God.
all this stuff. It's freaking hilarious. But Macaulay Culkin showed up as a guest on here, because he said that was going on. So, it was cool that he did that. But one of the funniest parts about it is he vetted all these people, to take these packages. One person just kept the package. And he goes, I don't know what that guy was thinking. I went through all this effort, months of preparation and vetting people and building all these contraptions over losing a $10 Amazon package. What do you think I was going to do to this guy? So he started by sending his information to Scientology, because your rumor has it, once you show any interest in Scientology, they hound you forever. So, he did that.
They never let go.
Then he sent a bunch of random mail to his neighbors, of weird fetish stuff, that was his name, but their address. So, it looked like it just got mailed to the wrong house. So all his neighbors start thinking he's into all this weird shit. So yeah, just petty, but it was pretty funny. Yeah. You mentioned Macaulay Culkin, and I remembered that, but it's worth a watch if you ever want to watch that. But that movie, I remember I was 16 years old when that movie came out. I remember seeing that in the theater. I mean, that movie was a phenomenon. It was huge box office. But just recently watched, Netflix did that series, or they did a documentary on the making of a few different movies. They did Die Hard, Dirty Dancing, Ghostbusters.
Oh, really?
And they did Home Alone. Yeah, it's a really good
so interested
documentary
in that.
series. Yeah, it's super good. And the Home Alone, I didn't even know John Williams did the soundtrack for that, and it wasn't like they went into it knowing he was going to do it. They had the whole movie made, and they were trying to figure out the music for it, and they showed it to him, and he's like, yeah, I'd love to do it. And they're like, oh my God, can you believe John Williams is going to do this for us? So that's one of the cool things in there. But yeah, absolutely go watch that Netflix series. Very cool.
Do you know what it's called?
Oh my God.
I'm sure Google's my friend here.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
We're all Googling at the same time.
Well, while you guys are Googling, I'm going to say thanks for listening to the loosest and screwiest podcast about Elite Dangerous and the whole Soul system.
The movies that made us.
Right on. Okay. And you can find us on Discord. To find out how to get to Discord, probably we'll just send you to our website, which is loosescrewsed.com, all one word. So it was pointed out to us earlier, Loose Screwsed is the website, I guess.
Yes, Screwsed.
loosescrews.com. That's very funny to me, and I love it. There you'll also find our merch store where you can get like t-shirts and mugs and stuff, and everybody loves those. You can put your coffee in it, put your body in it, all that stuff. Other than that, man, that wasn't even a joke. You can do it. You can
Dip
really
your
do
balls in it.
Put your all right. Well,
the hokey pokey.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Chig, Data, Nurgle, for joining me today. Good talks, and we'll see everybody in game. We'll see everybody in Discord.
I got a good cheese. Well, not
oh
a
my
good
god,
cheese.
a cheese!
Cheese us out.
I'm so sorry. Cheese us out. That's the word.
Oh my god! All right,
failure.
Everybody, obviously, you guys have figured out I like cheese, and this isn't like a bit for the show. This is like I actually do this in real life too. So we went to dinner at a friend's house we hadn't seen in a while here, and of course, they bought it. I was at the grocery store. I saw this cheese. Thought you'd like to try it. So I'm like, all right. And this is the cheese. It's called Ski Queen. Yes, Ski Queen.
Okay.
The label says a traditional Norwegian brown cheese. That made me a little bit scary, but naturally sweet with a smooth, mild caramel taste from a unique blend of cow and goat's milk. I had never had it. I'm like, sweet caramel type flavor, huh? You open it up and it literally looks like a giant caramel. Like it was kind of freaky. Even when you cut it, the consistency was almost that, like almost between a caramel and Velveeta. And I'm like, okay. You taste it, and it's got almost like a sharp cheddar flavor to begin with. And then that sweetness comes through and this hint of caramel. And then that hint of caramel keeps growing and growing. And soon you got this cheesy caramel aftertaste that doesn't go away no matter how much whiskey you drink. So I'm not recommending it, but I'm saying if you want to try something different, it's called Ski Queen. Stay cheesy, everybody.
Fabulous. Thanks. That's it, man. Caramel cheese. All right. I guess that's all. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Fly badly. I don't know if that's gonna be my thing or not. You know what I like? Stay loose and screwy.
There you go.
Stay loose and screwy.
Perfect.